Hey, how you doing? My name is Ryan, and today I'm reviewing and ranking every LEGO Marvel Comic-Con set. While many collectors often pine after the Comic-Con minifigures due to their exclusivity, high-quality designs, and prints, LEGO also made several small sets only available for convention attendees. So are these sets as top of the line as the more popular minifigures? And what is the best LEGO Marvel Comic-Con set? I'll be judging each one on their build techniques, shaping, desirability, and uniqueness. And while I might mention which minifigures are included in each set, they won't play as big of a role in my ranking as they usually would. Now, I was not at Comic-Con to get these sets in person. I've only been to one convention, that being E3, and I was technically working as a reporter there, so I bought all these on the secondary market. Prices can range from around $100 to $500 for a pristine new in-box set. And since I'm trying to rank these sets based on the build itself, I didn't want to open up a bunch of sealed, expensive Comic-Con sets, so I bought a lot of these on the secondary market used, often without the box. With that out of the way and going in release order, our first set is Rocket's Warbird from 2014. This is a really basic build with a rather good design. The coloring is quite nice on this ship, and I'm not sure if the hinge plates on the wings are for posing or act as a play feature. It's kind of ambiguous. You could have this be like attack position and this be flying position, but it's not really clear whether or not it's supposed to be a play feature or just a way to pose the wings in the right position. I do like this mix of dark bluish gray and white on the slopes in the back of the ship, and the highlights of orange and red are a nice touch and do provide some nice color to this build. The included rocket figure sits on top of the ship, which kind of messes up the scale. I get they were trying to make a small version of a larger ship, so you kind of had to have the figure on top and not be able to fit inside to keep the piece count low, but it makes Rocket's Warbird feel more like a larger microfighter set than a convention exclusive. Honestly, I think I prefer the design to the 2024 retail version of this ship, as there's a better scale, better shaping, and better techniques. Then again, 10 extra years of LEGO Marvel experience certainly does help in building a better ship, but this first convention exclusive is a rather basic build propped up by exclusivity alone. I'm putting Rocket's Warbird into the C tier. Next up is 2015's Throne of Ultron. This black-based vignette is kind of a precursor to the modern vignette and model sets LEGO loves to make, but thankfully this set itself is pretty great. The layering of color with the dark tan, and brown look fantastic. The pillars and the illusion of broken arches is rather effective. The titular throne feels imposing and somewhat religious, which fits the feel of Ultron choosing a church for his base. The set is compact, clean, and kind of professional looking with that black outline. I can see why LEGO chose this style of set for a convention exclusive. It's compact, it kind of looks like a desk ornament, but I can also see why they chose to expand the dioramas into retail, because this first one is really great in my opinion, and I'm putting the Throne of Ultron into the S tier. But now we move on to the various Comic-Con exclusive BrickHeadz, which was actually a soft launch for the theme back in 2016. Full disclosure, I've never been that big of a fan of BrickHeadz. I see the allure of what essentially is a LEGO Funko Pop, but I've just never been into that style of collectible. That being said, these Comic-Con exclusives do look good and were a nice way to introduce the buildable collectible to the masses. However, there's a catch. While these BrickHeadz are available on eBay for a good chunk of change, I decided to buy the parts for them on Bricklink for relatively cheap, and then supplemented some of the custom prints with perfect replica decals from Ultimate Collector stickers. The art here is a dead-on ringer and even blends perfectly with the exclusive printed tiles and bricks. So while it is possible to build perfect recreations of these Comic-Con BrickHeadz, I would not pass these off as the original real deal. With that, let's start off with our first Comic-Con BrickHead, Iron Man. So minus the color and decals, this is a near identical build to the retail Iron Man BrickHead that would release in March of 2017. And having the build kind of repeated later on for retail does diminish the quality and experience of building what is a convention exclusive. Then again, given the simplistic and formulaic approach to BrickHead builds, it'd be difficult to make two vastly different designs for the same character. That being said, the print work on the arc reactor and helmet are quite nice, and the rounder reactor is a classic look. The brighter red is also rather clean looking. But I don't think that's enough to separate the exclusive convention BrickHead to the cheaper retail BrickHead of Iron Man. Maybe if LEGO went full-on 1960s suit, that would have been a fascinating and different design choice. But But if you think about it, the designers at LEGO were probably finishing up the convention BrickHead while at the same time refining the retail version, so they probably were building these around the same time, so it's no wonder that it looks so similar. While I don't think I'll put any Comic-Con BrickHead into the C tier per se, because I know these little-bodied, big-headed builds have quite a strong audience, and I'm just not in it. In terms of uniqueness for a Comic-Con exclusive, Iron Man isn't all that impressive. I'm putting him in the B tier. But what about our next BrickHead, Captain America? This build came packaged alongside Iron Man, and thankfully, Steve Rogers is a bit more unique from his future retail version. Not only does the light blue patterning stand out a lot more, the basic stars and stripes look great, the added white wings on the helmet sell this build as a comic version rather well. The retail Captain America BrickHead looks closer to the MCU costume, but having a slightly different build makes this Comic-Con Captain America a bit more exclusive feeling. It's a clean, effective, and more importantly, unique build for Comic-Con. I'm putting this Captain America BrickHead into the A tier. Moving on to the second BrickHead double pack released in 2016, it's Doctor Strange and Black Panther. We'll start with the Master of the Mystic Arts first, Stephen Strange. Compared to Cap and Tony, Strange has a more interesting translation from costume to build. The three-dimensional belt, the cloak of levitation on the back, the white temples on the hair, and even a brick-built receding hairline / widow's peak make this build far more intriguing. There are some great details in the build itself that elevate this BrickHead of Doctor Strange above the other convention exclusives as well as other retail BrickHeads. And considering LEGO never made a retail BrickHead of Doctor Strange, it's nice that their convention exclusive was so well conceived and already showcased the potential of this new style of LEGO set. I'll put the Doctor Strange BrickHead into the S tier. But bundled with Doctor Strange was a Black Panther BrickHead, another hero who never saw a retail rendition. So was the exclusivity on this BrickHead worth it? I don't think so, but it wasn't really the designer's fault. The Black Panther costume is already a rather simple design, so reducing it even further for LEGO, and even further still for a BrickHead, leaves you with a rather bare bones build. The only real deviations from a blank BrickHead are the slightly pointed ears in the back and the claws on the side. Without those tiny tweaks and some simple but good custom printed pieces, this Black Panther BrickHead would be practically nothing. I know I said I wasn't going to put BrickHeads into the C tier, but this Black Panther BrickHead has so little going for it outside of some printed tiles and a box that says Comic-Con on it. So I'm putting Black Panther into the C tier. Moving on to our final BrickHead double pack released in 2017, it's Spider-Man and Venom. Let's start with Spider-Man. This is a character that did eventually receive a retail BrickHead, but it was his Iron Spider suit, not his comic book suit. And like Black Panther, Spider-Man has a very simple costume design that, when translated into a BrickHead, doesn't really give you a lot of opportunities to add extra build to it. However, while Black Panther was minimalist in build and custom printed tiles, Spider-Man goes all out with making this red suit look like Spider-Man. Look at the amount of coverage and print on this BrickHead. On the front you have the spider logo and some webbing on the sides and hands, and even on the back. And again, bear in mind, my version of Spider-Man is a recreation with sticker decals, whereas the official Comic-Con version had printed tiles for all these pieces, making it look that much cleaner and that much better. This is a Comic-Con BrickHead that justifies the higher price tag because of how many custom printed pieces are needed to make this look like Spider-Man. All that being said, this is still a rather boring build of a BrickHead, so I can't put Spider-Man into the S tier like Doctor Strange, but I will put the Comic-Con Spider-Man BrickHead comfortably into the A tier. But what about his counterpart, Venom? While not as totally covered in printed pieces as Spider-Man, the Venom BrickHead kind of finds the balance between printed pieces and custom build elements. While the head is rather plain, the use of 2 white tiles for the eyes do give this character a bit more of a monstrous look. And the several black tendrils on the back of the BrickHead look fantastic here. It is rather impressive with BrickHeads how a few couple piece additions here and there do add so much life to the character. Add to that a few simple but effective printed pieces like the Venom logo in 2 parts and the red mouth, and you're left with a really solid Venom BrickHead that does strike the balance between having some printed pieces and having some additional build elements. And I'll put the Venom BrickHead into the A tier. Moving on to 2018, we end our run of exclusive BrickHeads and go back to sets with Giant Man and the Wasp. Now by this point, we had the Giant Man build from Civil War, and that was better than this in my opinion. The head build is fine here, but it feels kind of incomplete. We only have the shoulders and the head, whereas the retail version had the whole body. There's only really one axis of movement, and it's kind of a loose joint, The head can spin around freely all the way around. It looks kind of weird that way. Moreover, there were no real surprises in this build. Everything pieced together rather well, but there wasn't any unique building techniques that I was really impressed with. It kind of just felt like a larger polybag set you could buy at Barnes & Noble. I mean, it still is a well-built set with the shaping on the back of the head being particularly well done, but the loose black antenna pieces and the side parts of the mask that don't clasp all the way in do hold this build back quite a bit. And for a Comic-Con set, especially at this point, you kind of expect more. So I'm putting Giant Man into the C tier. But what about 2019's Captain Marvel and the Asis set? A return to form with the dioramas and the exact same size of base as the Ultron throne set. Now, the ship itself is small, but rather sleek looking. There's nice shaping on the wings and the cockpit. The clutter around the ship, though, I don't think is all that necessary, and the Flurkin build is a bit bulky and kind of a letdown, as it's more so a Lego mask in front of a pre-existing cat. However, my biggest problem with this set is the fact that the ship is affixed to the mount, and the mount really only has one position. Now, you can just pop the spaceship off rather easily. It's only held together by a couple of modified plates, but it would have been nice to pose the ship in different positions on the mount, or have the mount move in a way that has a bit more dynamic range for the set. And again, what we get is still rather good. There's even some nice detail of a translucent blue shield on top of the ship to represent the Tesseract's energy, and even room for a red fire hydrant in the cockpit. Honestly, the Axis feels right at home with other smaller Marvel ships like the Quinjet from the Avengers Tower set, and I do wish we got more of this style ship. Small, compact, but still rather detailed. As I was building the Axis, I was considering putting the set into the B tier, but a lot of my frustrations come with the figures that were included in the set, not the build itself. The then exclusive Captain Marvel figure was released later on in a polybag for dirt cheap, and the Maria Rambeau figure has only one new part, that being the back of the head print. And Maria doesn't even use the leg printing that the torso is supposed to go with. So even if the figures do hold the set back, the build by itself is really quite nice and rather well built. So I'm putting the Axis into the A tier. With that, we have our last set, 2020's Black Widow's Taskmaster Ambush. This set was planned as the Comic-Con exclusive for that year, but, you know, stuff happened. Now, this diorama improves upon the Captain Marvel Axis in quite a few ways. For one, the vehicle has much more dynamic movement, with working suspension on the wheels and the ability to remove the entire tank very easily from the stand. It's only held together by friction and gravity, not studs. Also, the vehicle itself is pretty bulky, but in a good way. There are several adjustable elements like mirrors, antenna, Red Guardian shield, and a truckload of weapons. The height and slopes on the tank work well to make this look like a villain vehicle. If you've watched the channel for a while, you know that I love when LEGO has the bad guy builds be bigger than the hero. It makes a set have an element of storytelling. The hero has to overcome the odds to win the day. I hate it when LEGO has a tiny villain ship and a huge hero build because, well, that's an easy fight to win. Taskmaster's Ambush makes for good storytelling. In fact, this is the first LEGO Marvel Comic-Con set to include a hero and a villain. So in essence, this is the first LEGO Marvel Comic-Con set to be more than just a display piece on your desk. It's also a playset. That's not to say the display sets are inferior. I still have the Ultron throne and Doctor Strange BrickHeadz in the S tier, but I'm glad LEGO intended to expand the realm of Comic-Con sets into fleshed out micro stories. I'm putting Taskmaster's Ambush into the S tier. With Comic-Con sets becoming less common, Taskmaster's Ambush from 2020 just might be the last LEGO Marvel Comic-Con set we ever get. If that's the case, I do kind of feel like none of these sets really showcase why they had to be exclusive to a convention. With figures, maybe the print is crazy detailed and therefore expensive to print, or the character is such a random character as it would never fit into a retail set. But with these sets, I don't think any of them, minus the BrickHeadz, would have passed as retail sets, but not in a good way. The smaller, more minimal builds are nice desk trinkets, but the moment you open the box to build the set, the value drops tremendously. I don't think any of the diorama sets had any exclusive parts or pieces, so if you wanted to build your own, you could do so for really cheaply on Bricklink. So the question is, are these sets really only valuable because of the box? And if the Comic-Con sets are only collectibles if they're still sealed in the box, did LEGO even need to put effort into these builds? Probably not. but I'm glad they still did. The Ultron throne is beautiful looking, Taskmaster Ambush is fun to build and play with, and the Doctor Strange BrickHead captures the fun and mysticism of the character in a rather obscure form. Do I think these Comic-Con sets are worth more than $500 each new in box? Not really, no, but maybe they are to you. That's what makes collecting LEGO fun. So that's my tier list of all of the LEGO Marvel Comic-Con sets. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which one's your favorite, and would you ever consider opening a new in-box Comic-Con set? Big thanks to my channel members. You guys make videos like this possible. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.